In this video, we will learn the different ways to validate results. First, we will view test validation by request. To configure this option, we go to Auxiliary Processes, Configuration, General Options, and select the Results option. Here, we make sure that Use Validation by Request is set. We then go to the Results window by first pressing Requests and then the Results button. Here, all we have to do is press the Validate button to mark the requests as validated. Another option is Test Validation by Test. To configure this option, we go back to the Configuration window and select the option Use Validation by Test and return to the Results window. Note, we no longer have the Validate button. Here we press F7 Validate Test to validate one test at a time, or F8 to validate all the results shown on the screen. To activate the final validation, we must go to Auxiliary Processes, Configuration, then Users, Advanced, and then press the Options button, and then Results, and mark Activate Final Validation. We now go back to the Configuration window. We now mark Test Validation by Test, and then Final Validation by Request in the Configuration window. We now go back to the Results window and validate tests one at a time by pressing F7 as before, and then by pressing the Validate button to perform the final validation. Lastly, we will select Test Validation by Test and Final Validation by Test. Once again, we press F7 to validate by test, and then to perform the final validation, one test at a time, we press Ctrl F7, and then we press Ctrl F8 to perform the final validation, all the results shown on the screen. Note, the green tick tells us that the test has undergone a test validation, and the red tick tells us that it has undergone a final validation.